welcome everyone to Storytime with Reds. I have an amazing guest, Amy Lou Taylor, and she is the owner of Mystic Tea Room, which is an amazing and very interesting type of tea room. She'll tell you a little bit more about it.
It's actually called the Art of Taseomancy's Mystic Tea Room.
Oh, got it. Got it. See, it's even more complex than I thought. Okay, awesome. Thank you. All right, so take it away. Tell us a little bit about, that's a lot, it's a mouthful.
That's why I've shortened it to TAOTAT, because it's just so much easier.
Yeah.
So I've been a tea leaf reader and a tea enthusiast for well over 30 years now. And I started doing readings professionally probably about 25 years ago. And then about 12 years ago, I injured myself. I was working in horticulture, and you can't move a pot if you can't feel your hand. So I lost my left arm for about 3 months, and the nerve damage was so bad that I couldn't go back to the industry that I was working in. I've worked in a lot of industries, but horticulture is a passion of mine. Wow. So with that, I ended up, they're now called Sipology, but they were called Steep Tea at the time. And I was doing tea parties, home tea parties for people. And I had a niche because I was a tea reader. So I did that for about 2 years just to sort of build a client base where I live. And the Art of Tea and Taseomancy sort of grew out of that. And here we are. So back in 2016, I got my first storefront, which was crazy and unexpected, and been an awesome ride ever since. The pandemic has been a bit of a, I have words that I'm not going to say online, but it's been an interesting experience to say the least. It's certainly something that has been testing all of my limits. It's still been great because I was able to move a lot of my business online, and it's been very helpful. So, and I do readings online now, and I teach online now, and I have my tea shop online now. And it's been really an amazing and harrowing experience at times too. So I'm sure you can relate.
Oh my gosh. Yes. And what I do love about it is it does bring people together from different cities, different countries. Like, you have a tea room there in Ontario, correct?
That's right. Yes.
Yep. And I mean, maybe you're servicing people outside that area now, or maybe in the US. Do you service the US?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay.
I've had several clients from the US. I've also had several clients and students from the US as well for my Taseomancy courses that I teach online. And I'm a woman that wears a lot of different hats. The moniker for my business is this. So you can just sort of see that there. Tea and Brews.
Love it.
So
that's so awesome.
And that's my logo for the business there. Anyway, so I'm also a broom maker, and I rediscovered my passion for broom making early last year in 2021, and I just sort of brought it back in. So now I've actually incorporated both my teas, my tisane blending, my tea blending, and so I've sort of amalgamated my passions, which is
wow, that's so awesome. I mean, that's the dream, right? Do what you're passionate about and do it every day.
Yeah. And hope you can make a lot of money doing it. Right.
Right. Yeah. So let me wrap my head around. So the way that your tea room works is that people can actually order specific types of blends from you, or do they like come in and say, hey, I have this ailment, I need this type of blend? Or do you have just...
So I can do things that way. I don't, because I'm not a registered herbalist, I'm just a community herbalist. I don't prescribe, right?
Oh, got it.
But I make specific blends. For example, the blend that I'm drinking now is called the Love Drop, and it's got loaded with like herbs that have lots of vitamin C and are heart opening herbs and things along those lines. So I'm able to sort of create blends for that purpose, but I create blends because I think they're beautiful. I'm sure you know this. I saw your blending video you put out today, right?
Yeah.
So, that sort of thing. I think they're beautiful, but I also feel that a lot of what I do when people come into the shop, I'm in a shared business space with another business that's an occult shop, which is kind of a good
Okay.
spin-off for what I do. And so I'm able to sort of cross a line there where we have the spirituality and tea parts sort of coming together, which is
I
really
love that.
neat. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And I think it just goes so well because I feel like the energy that you get from tea is so amazing. And it begins from the plucking of the tea leaf, the processing, the blending, your intention behind the blending, which I love that you talked about. I feel exactly the same way about my blends. I won't even blend when I'm, not in the right energy source, or I'm not, in a certain vibration. It's like, I want to make sure that I want to make sure people feel my blends. I mean, I specialize in dessert teas, which is my own, particular niche, but I mean, I absolutely love what you do. So thank you so much for making the time for us, because I know people had a lot of questions.
It's a pleasure. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah.
And of course, I love Arizona too. I got family in Arizona, so that's cool.
You should come and visit. Hey, my door is always open. We got plenty of room.
Right on.
So the first question that I have is, what's the difference between taseomancy and taseography?
So in my opinion, so there's three terms that go along with tea leaf reading. So there's taseomancy, taseography, and then taseology, right? Okay. So taseology is actually working with a cup as a divinatory tool, right? Taseography, in my opinion, is what you would get as marked teacups. So when I say marked teacups, pardon this one, it's pathetic, it's broken. I mean cups that look like this.
Yes,
right?
I love that.
So, and this one is like a really, really sad cup from 1905 that has actually been through the ringer, but it sits on my desk and it holds things for me. So that's actually helpful. So like you can't even see, like there's actually an anchor that's in the bottom of that cup. You can't even see it anymore. So,
wow.
So a marked cup, if you break the word down, tas means cup, right? Or goblet. And then graphy means marked area. So it is a marked cup. Taseomancy, when you break that term down, we have tas again, which is cup or goblet. And then mancy is form of divination.
So what exactly is divination for those viewers that don't know what that is?
Loaded question. Divination, not really loaded, but there's two essential types of divination. There's what they call ecstatic, which is where people are connecting with spiritual levels and able to speak to loved ones that have crossed over, sort of thing. So this is where we get our clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience. And then there's the ecstatic. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes now because my brain is a fuzz at the moment. I've had migraines for 2 days.
Oh,
so
no.
Yeah, it's fine. I live with it. Inductive is the other one. And so tea leaf reading is the inductive type. And the reason why that is that tea leaf reading is a type of geomancy, which is divination with random objects, right? So that would be divination that you would see maybe our indigenous people down in Arizona actually do sand paintings. So that is a form, that can be a form of divination as well, right? Because you're creating something or reading something that is created out of a random object. So tea leaf reading ties into that category. What makes it completely unique is how each reader is going to utilize it. Some people are inductive and ecstatic types of readers. So you have people that are able to connect with spirit on a different level, and then they are able to take that spiritual information and pop it into what they're looking at in that cup. I'm kind of along those lines because I work with energy and I work with what people's energy is telling me, and I'm applying it to everything that I look at.
Awesome. Wow. That's a lot. Wow, that was so much more complicated than what I thought. Okay. And then like
I said, if tea can't fix it, it's a serious problem.
It's a serious problem, right? So I have been wondering, like, does it take a specific vessel to brew the tea? Because like, you know how some infusers let out more tea leaves than others? Is there like a specific way to do it?
So you wouldn't use an infuser if you're doing a tea leaf reading. Generally speaking, what happens, and so in the old days, they obviously had only loose leaf tea. They didn't have bag tea as an option. Yeah. So what they would do is they would take loose leaf tea, put it into a pot without a strainer, like without the grill that's in there, right?
Okay.
And then they would actually pour tea that way. Other ways they've done it in years past, they've actually taken a tea bag, cut it open. I'm breathing through this. Cut it open, put it into the teacup, and then pour the water into the teacup and drink that sludge. So right, it's just not a pleasant cup of tea. I'm a big fan of, like, if you're going to sit down and have a reading with me, I'm making sure that you get a good tea to drink that you're going to enjoy, because tea is meant to be enjoyed and shared, right?
Yes.
So for me, I don't use an actual tea. I use rooibos.
Oh, got it.
And I use rooibos specifically because I like that the fact that the leaves, they can sit in water for a very long period of time, and you don't get a strong bitter tasting tea, which is all the tannins and everything that you get out of black and green and white tea and all that sort of stuff. White tea is probably the safest that you could use, but the leaves are so large, right?
Yeah,
that hard. They're creating shapes on their own. And I'm a reader that doesn't like that. Now, there's other readers that are out there that love the fact that, like, a good English breakfast or an Assam or a Darjeeling or something like that would actually utilize those leaves and those shapes that those larger leaves are making. And I can read that and I can do that. That's fine, because I'm working with the person's energy mostly, right? So.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. That clarifies a lot, because I was so confused at how that works.
Okay. So the other question that you had was about what type of a vessel that you want to be doing your readings in. So we love drinking out of mugs, right? It's not going to work for a tea reading, because you need to be able to get the leaves around the cup. And so that's why a teacup is actually a better option for you. Yeah. It's so sad. But something that is bowl shaped is going to give you a better effect, right? So it's much better for, and I think you get a better aroma profile on the tea as well when you're drinking it. Like, there's all of these things that are happening that way. So again, like I said, I give people an experience when they come and see me. So yeah.
That's amazing. And I mean, Taseomancy has been around for such a long time, since like the 1700s, right?
It's actually, there is documentation in Babylonian texts going back to 1800 BC of people actually divining with a cup or a goblet or a bowl-shaped device, right? So there's several forms of divination that came before tea leaf reading. Tea leaf reading really came into its own in the 18th century, actually. It's not even the 17th century. Yeah. And then there's a lot of people that actually believe that tea leaf reading came from the Chinese, which it may very well have. But I haven't found any explicit information stating that it is from a Chinese background.
But it's primarily practiced in British type culture or European type culture.
I'd say European type culture is a really fair way of putting it, because there's also coffee grind readings. So that happens in Italy, that happens in France, that happens in Hungary. Like, it happens in all of those European countries, right? So.
Yeah. And does that happen with like the same type of cup? Like, could you use the same type of cup for that?
So they use a different cup. They use more of a straight edged cup instead of a bowl shaped cup. But I'm not very well versed on coffee reading, probably because I don't drink coffee at all. So so you would definitely have to speak to a coffee reader to figure that out.
Okay. So there are specialists in the Taseomancy area.
Yeah, 100%. And I would say that, it's common and rare at the same time. It's really interesting. If you go over to the UK or if you go to Wales or Scotland or something like that, you're going to be finding that there's a lot of people that are doing tea leaf readings. Hey, buddy.
I wanted to come say hi.
It's all right. I got 3 of them and they're all looking through the door at the moment. So anyway, so when it comes to coffee grind reading, I understand that they're using a straighter edge sort of coffee cup. Okay. But they're also using a coffee that's got nice layers of the crema. And so they're reading those layers of the crema from the coffee, right? So they can actually do it with grinds, and Turkish coffee grinds are generally what's used for that. So.
Wow, this is amazing. So can people I mean, you can like purchase one of those cups online, like a Taseography type cup online or whatever. I know you probably sell them, right, at your store?
I have. So I have the one that's most popular, the one that I would recommend the most because it comes with a really informative booklet, is one that is called the Cup of Destiny, and it's made by Jane Lyle. Now, Jane Lyle created this cup set right?
Mhm.
She's done several different forms of divinations, but this particular cup set is actually based off of this cup.
Okay.
And so she's taken some of her design cues from the original Nell Rose Cup of Fortune that came out of England. But she's done a really nice booklet that goes along with it. So you can definitely purchase things along those lines. Then there's also vintage ones that you can find and antique ones. If you can find them, grab them, but they're usually $100 or more for a cup set.
Worth it.
So yeah, right.
Yeah.
The Jane Lyle set up here in Canada is $29.95. I think it's like $25 in the States or something like that. So
Wow. Awesome. Okay. Good to know. And how can they contact you if they want like a reading or some type of, where is your shop located and that kind of information?
So you can find me on the internet. If you just look up this, right? I'll just put this here.
Okay.
Right? There's my details on there as well. And also I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, TAOTAT. If you look that up, you'll find me. And I have my website, which is www.taotat.ca, not .com.ca, because I'm in Canada. And then you can find me that way. You can book appointments for the tea card readings with me, because that's what I do online. The tea card readings are really cool. I have an old deck here that I can show you what they look like. So I'm wrecking my desk doing it.
That is so cool. I need to try that with you for sure.
Yeah, we can book something. That's cool.
Yeah.
So the tea cards are really, really unique. This is just one of them that sort of gives you an idea of what they look like. But the tea cards are literally a Lenormand divination system that was created in the 1850s. The woman who it was named after died before the deck was even created, so she didn't even know.
Wow.
But she, it's fine. She probably would have hated it anyhow. But the reason why I'm mentioning that is because when you you know what, I'll get you one that you can probably see the card much better. So when you take a look at these, you can see that there's a playing card up in the corner there. So it was based off of a regular deck of playing cards. So it's a European system for reading, doing tea leaf or doing card readings. And then there was a gentleman in Germany that put together the cards and then the symbols from a game called Coffee Cards. And so the symbols are the same as the symbols that you see in tea leaf readings. So like you can see, on this one, you can actually see the anchor and stuff like that. So these are the same types of things that actually show up in tea readings, right? So it gives you sort of that perspective.
Yeah. So you can't do, for the viewers, you can't do an online tea leaf reading, right? Because it needs to be in person.
I do not. I know other readers that will. And what you can do with that is send me a message and I can turn you on to people in the States that actually do the tea leaf readings that way. I tried with, there was a company in the States called Adagio Teas. Amazing company. They're family run and they're really, really nice people. A couple of years back, we tried having their clients sending in pictures of their cups as part of a sort of bonus for them when they bought. And unfortunately, it didn't really work out very well because for me to do a tea leaf reading, I'm very particular about how I want to see the cup, the layout in the cup, right? So I would have to give you a lesson on how to do tea leaf reading to be able to swirl the cup and everything like that. So I teach that if people really want to know that they can take a course with me.
Okay, so they can get your course online, and that's just through either your website or your email, right?
Website, they can send me an email. I can send them the details on my website. If you go to my programs page, you can see all of the programs that I offer. And then on the events page, you can go to my Eventbrite link for my business, and you can find out what programs I'm actually teaching. I actually have one coming up this Sunday, which is about the history of the teacup, the British teacup specifically. Yeah, so that one's a really fun one. And, I go through a lot of I have hundreds of teacups, but a lot of them I use that are historical. I got some cups from the 18th century, 17th century, and they're really interesting to see the progression of how we went from the Chinese gong fu, handleless teacup, these
Yep.
beautiful chai ones that we're used to, to, you know, a teacup with a handle. Well, it would have a handle anyway. So, you know,
Yeah.
my poor broken cup. I love it.
I know. It's so cute though, you know, it's sentimental.
Right? Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
And that's so worth it. And
Yeah.
one thing I wanted to leave on was, how did you even get into this? Like, what turned you on to it?
Wow. Long story short, I was interested in different forms of divination in my teens, and I was 18 years, so I'm going to give my age away right now. Anyway, I was 18 years old. I was sitting in a Chinese restaurant with my family, and I was twigged on to seeing things in their cups because I had the pot in front of me, and naturally, if you have the teapot in front of you, you're pouring for everyone. So I was looking in their cups before I was pouring, so it twigged something. So I went and I did some research, and I learned from a couple of people, but mostly I'm self-taught. And then later on in life, 15 years ago, I was reunited with my biological mother and found out that my great grandmother was a tea leaf reader in North Yorkshire, England.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is phenomenal. That is like meant to be. Holy smokes.
Right?
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
literally, it was a jaw on the ground moment for me. Like, it was like, wait, what?
Wow.
So again, 15 years ago, that's when I realized I needed to do something bigger with what I was doing, right? Because it was a side hustle for so long, you know. So it took me about 3-4 years to sort of get my brains around how I wanted to turn it into a business, and here we are.
Wow. It's amazing how once you decide to follow your passion, the doors just open and it's like, come on in.
It astonishes me, and it doesn't surprise me, and it still blows my mind every single day.
It's so
you know,
amazing.
like it's
Yeah.
just so cool.
That is so awesome. Thank you so much for coming on, and thank you so much for sharing all of this information. We appreciate you, and we'll see you again soon.
It's a pleasure. I look forward to it. Next time we'll tour the museum.
Yes.
All right. Take care.